My boss made promises he never kept my promise to myself, and left for company that values me more. My boss is standing in the doorway of the small conference room like he owns the air in it, smiling that tight, practice smile people use when they want to look friendly while they're cornering you. He taps the folder in his hand against his palm like a metronome. So, he says, dragging the word out, are we going to be a team player today, or are we going to do the whole salary conversation again? The fluorescent lights buzz overhead. My stomach drops, not because I'm scared of the conversation, but because I know exactly what he's doing, setting the tone so I look unreasonable before I even speak. I feel my hands go cold around my mug. I can taste coffee that's been reheated one too many times, bitter and metallic. I keep my face neutral because I've learned the hard way that if you show an emotion in this building, it gets used as evidence against you. I'm here for the performance review you scheduled, I say. My voice comes out steady, which surprises me. He laughs under his breath, like I'm adorable. Right? He says, sliding into the chair across from me without asking if I'm ready. He opens the folder, shuffles papers that I'm pretty sure are blank, then looks up and says, let's keep this simple. We talked about a raise. You know where things stand. Budgets. Market conditions. You got a job. That's not nothing. His eyes flick to my face like he's waiting for me to flinch. So, he repeats, softer now, be grateful. It was a Tuesday night, a little after 9, when I finally stopped pretending it was going to get better on its own. I got home, kicked off my shoes, and stood in my kitchen staring at the same takeout container I'd been staring at for 3 nights in a row because I'd been too tired to cook and too stubborn to admit how much this job was taking from me. My phone was on the counter, screen bright with emails I hadn't answered and reminders I'd snoozed. I'd promised myself when I took this role that I'd only give it 2 years if it didn't feel fair. 2 years. That was my line. I'd said it out loud to Nina, my friend who'd watched me sign the offer letter like it was a wedding contract. 2 years, I told her. If I'm still doing 3 people's jobs for 1 paycheck, I'm out. The problem was I wasn't just doing 3 jobs. I was doing the job I was hired for, plus the job of the person who quit 6 months in, plus the job of the person who temporarily went on leave and never came back. And the longer I held it together, the more everyone assumed I could. It was supposed to be a good opportunity. That's what I told myself. I left a boring but stable role because my boss, Graham, had looked me dead in the eye during the interview and said all the right things. We promote from within. We reward initiative. We're building something. He made it sound like if I worked hard, I'd be seen. He made it sound like I'd have a seat at the table, not a folding chair near the door. The first month was exciting in that exhausting way new jobs can be. New systems, new people, new pressure. I like learning fast. I like being useful. I didn't mind staying late when it felt like it mattered. Graham was charismatic in meetings. He'd slap my shoulder and say, "This is why we hired you." He'd forward emails from clients with "great work" in the subject line. He'd introduce me to senior leaders like I was his success story. And I ate it up because I was hungry for that kind of validation. I didn't realize it was bait. I thought it was trust. Then the promises started, and they were always timed perfectly. Always right when I was on the verge of pushing back. The first promise happened after my probation period. I've been doing well. I'd brought in a new client workflow that cut our turnaround time nearly in half. I'd fixed an ongoing data issue that had been silently screwing up reports for months. I'd trained a new junior hire because nobody else could be bothered. Graham called me into his office, closed the door like he was about to hand me a secret, and said, "I've been watching you. You've got leadership potential." My heart did that stupid hopeful thing. "Thank you," I said, trying to sound professional while my brain lit up like a pinball machine. He leaned back in his chair. "We're going to do a salary adjustment after probation. Not a huge one," he added quickly, "but something to reflect your value. And there's a title change on the horizon, too. We just have to get through end of quarter." He made it sound like the delay had meaning, like it was strategic, not avoidant. End of quarter came and went. Nothing happened. When I asked, gently, he did this little sigh like I'd asked him to give me a kidney. "I want it too," he said. "Believe me, but it's above my head. Give a bit. Don't worry. I'll take care of you." That was his favorite phrase. "I'll take care of you." It sounded protective until you realized it meant stop asking questions. By month 6, give it a bit had turned into next quarter. By month 9, it was after the restructure. By month 12, it was once the new budget is approved. Meanwhile, my workload doubled, then tripled. The day everything shifted was the day Claire quit. Claire had been the person who knew everything, where the bodies were buried, which clients were a nightmare, how to get approvals through the maze. She'd been here 5 years. When she gave notice, the office reacted like someone had announced the building was on fire. People ran around, making concerned faces. Graham called an emergency meeting and said, "We're going to pull together. This is a chance for growth." I watched him say it and felt my skin prickle because I knew what it meant. It meant the work wasn't leaving. It was moving, and it was moving on to whoever said yes. After the meeting, Graham pulled me aside. "I need you to step up," he said, voice low like he was confiding in me. "Just temporarily. You can handle it. You're the only one I trust with Claire's accounts." I wanted to say no. I wanted to say, hire someone. I wanted to say, pay me for the role you're handing me. But he looked at me like this was a test of loyalty. Like refusing would reveal something ugly about my character. "How long?" I asked. "A few weeks," he said immediately. "Maybe a month. And listen, this is important. This puts you in an excellent position for that promotion we talked about." There it was. The promise dropped like a treat right when he needed me to jump. A few weeks turned into 3 months. Then 6. I trained myself on systems I'd never been supposed to touch. I handled client calls that made my stomach twist. I stayed late, not because I loved the work, but because if I didn't do it, someone would yell, and it would somehow be my fault. I started bringing my laptop home, just in case, and then pretending it was normal to answer emails at 11 at night. My friends stopped asking if I could meet up because I always said maybe and then canceled. Every time I started to crack, Graham would throw me a compliment like a life preserver. "You're killing it. I couldn't do this without you. Just hold on a little longer." And I would, because I didn't want to fail. Because I didn't want to confirm the quiet fear that maybe I wasn't as capable as everyone seemed to think I was. But then there were moments, small, sharp moments, that made it impossible to ignore what was really happening. Like when I found out a guy who'd been hired after me, with less experience, was making more than me. I only found out because I accidentally saw a shared spreadsheet on a screen during a meeting. It was open for maybe 3 seconds, but the number burned into my brain. I remember my face staying still while something inside me went cold. After the meeting, I went to the bathroom, locked myself in a stall, and sat on the closed lid like my legs had forgotten how to stand. Or when Graham told me I couldn't take 2 days off for my cousin's wedding because we're slammed, and then I saw photos of him at a golf day the next week, smiling in a polo shirt, beer in hand. He posted it on LinkedIn with some caption about team bonding. Or when I sat through yet another meeting where senior leadership praised the department's performance, and Graham let them believe he was the reason, while my work sat quietly in the background like an unpaid ghost. The worst promise, the one that finally made something in me break, came after my annual review. I prepared for it like it was an exam. I brought metrics. I brought documented outcomes. I brought emails from clients thanking me. I brought a list of responsibilities that, frankly, sounded like a job description for someone much higher up. Graham flipped through my printed packet without reading it. He smiled and said, "You've been phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal." My heart jumped. Even after everything, some part of me still wanted to believe. Then he said, "And because of that, I'm recommending you for a promotion track. It's not official yet. HR needs to do their thing, but in 6 months we can reassess salary and title." 6 months. I stared at him. "So no raise now?" I asked. He held up his hands like I was accusing him of a crime. "Budgets," he said. "You know how it is. But I'm telling you, 6 months, you're in a different place. Trust me." I walked out of that meeting with my packet still in my hand, and I remember thinking very clearly, he's never going to do it. Not because he can't, but because he doesn't have to. Because I keep doing the work anyway. That's what hit me on that Tuesday night at 9. 2 years was coming up. 2 years of promises. 2 years of trust me. 2 years of me swallowing my anger, my exhaustion, my resentment, because I kept thinking the next promise would be the one he kept. I took my phone off the counter and opened my Notes app where I'd started a list months ago called Reasons. It was supposed to help me stay grounded. Every time something happened that made me feel small, I wrote it down. Not dramatic, just facts. Promised raise after probation. Didn't happen. Promised promotion after Claire left. Didn't happen. Denied time off. Took golf day. Call me emotional for asking about pay. Added responsibilities without compensation. Made joke in meeting about me being high maintenance when I asked for resources. I stared at that list until my eyes blurred. Then I opened my calendar and counted. I had 12 weeks left until the 2-year mark. 12 weeks until the promise I'd made to myself became a choice. The next morning, I updated my resume before work. Not after work when I was drained. Before. Like I was choosing myself first for once. My fingers felt shaky, but I kept going. I sent it to 3 companies. Then 5. Then 8. I didn't tell anyone at the office. I didn't tell Graham. I didn't even tell Nina for a week because saying it out loud felt like it would make it real, and I wasn't ready for the fear that came with that. The job hunt was its own kind of humiliation. Writing cheerful cover letters while you're dead tired. Smiling in interviews and pretending you're excited when you're mostly just desperate to escape. Taking phone calls in your car on lunch breaks. Changing your voice so you sound upbeat while your stomach is in knots. But something strange happened the more I did it. I started feeling like myself again. Not the version of me that was always bracing for the next crisis. The version that had opinions and energy and a spine. One afternoon, after Graham scheduled a quick check-in at 5:15, which meant he'd keep me until 6:30, I left my laptop at my desk, went to the bathroom, and stared at my reflection in the mirror. My face looked older than it should. My eyes looked dull. I had a tiny crease between my eyebrows that hadn't been there a year ago. I put my hands on the sink and whispered, "You promised." 2 days later, I got an email from a company I'd applied to almost as a joke. The role was similar, but at a larger organization with actual structure. The salary range in the listing was already higher than what I was making. I read it 3 times because I didn't trust my eyes. They scheduled an interview for the following week. I did it from my car, parked 2 blocks away, heart pounding like I was doing something illegal. The hiring manager, Elena, asked thoughtful questions. She didn't interrupt. When I described what I'd been doing in my current job, her eyebrows went up. "That's a lot," she said carefully. "And you've been doing all of that under what title?" I told her. She let out a small breath, like she was trying not to make a face. "Okay," she said. "That helps. Just so, we take role clarity pretty seriously here. If you're doing X, your title and compensation reflect X. We don't do the just hold on thing." It was such a simple sentence. It hit me like a wave. I felt my throat tighten, and I had to blink hard to keep my voice steady. "That sounds nice," I managed. "It's basic," she said almost gently. "It should be basic." The second interview went well. The third one felt like a formality. Then, on a Thursday at 4:48 p.m., my phone buzzed with an email notification. Offer letter. I pulled up the document and stared at the salary. It was 40% higher. 40%. Plus à bonus structure. Plus benefits that didn't feel like a joke. Remote flexibility. Actual training budget. A manager who'd already said, in writing, "We don't expect after-hours responses unless it's an emergency." I sat in my car and started shaking. Not happy shaking. Not just adrenaline. It was like my body was letting go of something it had been holding for 2 years. That's when I finally told Nina. I called her, and when she answered, I blurted, "I got an offer," and she screamed so loudly I had to pull the phone away from my ear. "Are you taking it?" she demanded. "I think so," I said, and then I laughed because the words felt ridiculous. Like, of course I was taking it. Like, why was I still asking permission from myself? "Say it," Nina said. "Say it like you mean it." "I'm taking it," I said, and my voice cracked. For the first time in a long time, I cried, and it wasn't because I felt trapped. It was because I could see a door. I accepted the offer that night. Then I sat at my kitchen table with a blank document open and wrote my resignation letter. It was short, polite, not emotional. I didn't explain. I didn't accuse. I didn't beg. I'd learned that explanations only become ammunition. The next day, I requested a meeting with Graham for Monday morning. He responded almost instantly. Sure. What's up? I didn't reply. Monday came. My stomach churned so hard I barely tasted breakfast. I walked into the office, and everything looked the same as always. Gray carpet, motivational posters that felt like threats, the smell of burnt coffee. I went to my desk, opened my laptop, and waited. Graham's assistant messaged me. He's ready. I walked into his office holding my resignation letter like it was a fragile object. Graham didn't look up right away. He was typing. He always made people wait. Power move. I stood there silently until he finally looked up and said, "What is it?" He said. My hands were oddly steady. "I'm resigning," I said, and slid the letter across his desk. His face went blank for half a second. Then he smiled, like he thought this was a negotiation tactic. "Okay," he said slowly. "Let's not do anything rash. What's going on?" "I've accepted another offer," I said. The smile faltered. "Where?" "I'm not discussing details," I said. He leaned back in his chair, eyes narrowing. "Is this about money?" I didn't answer right away. I watched him. He looked irritated, not concerned. Like I'd inconvenienced him. Like the work I did was a service he owned, and I was canceling without proper notice. "I'm giving my notice," I said calmly. "My last day will be..." I named the date. Graham's jaw tightened. "You're making a mistake," he said. "Grass isn't always greener." I almost laughed because he'd never once asked what I wanted until he was about to lose it. "I've thought it through," I said. He tapped the letter with his finger. "You know," he said, "I was about to revisit your compensation. We were talking about it. HR." There it was. The promise. Rolled out like a magician's last trick when the audience starts leaving. I felt something deep in me settle, like a heavy object finally finding the ground. "You've been saying that for 2 years," I said quietly. His eyes flashed. "Don't be dramatic." I exhaled slowly. "This isn't dramatic," I said. "This is me following through." He leaned forward, voice softening into that fake empathetic tone he used when he wanted to seem reasonable. "Look," he said, "you're valuable here. We can make adjustments. We can talk. What number are you looking for?" 2 years ago, that question would have made me feel seen. Now it just made me feel tired, because it wasn't about the number. It was about the pattern. The fact that he only cared when there were consequences. "It's not a negotiation," I said. His face hardened. "So you're just leaving us in the lurch?" I blinked. "I'm giving notice," I repeated. He scoffed. "After everything we've done for you." That sentence landed like a slap because it was so absurd. Everything they'd done for me? They paid me to do a job. I'd done it. Then I'd done more. Then I'd done even more. They hadn't done anything for me except take. I stood up. "I appreciate the opportunities," I said, because I wasn't going to let him drag me into an argument where he got to decide what was reasonable. "I'll support a transition as best as I can." He stared at me, and for a second I thought he might yell. But he didn't. He just smiled again, the cold one. "Fine," he said. "But don't expect a glowing reference if you're going to burn bridges." My stomach clenched, old fear trying to rise. References. Reputation. The silent threats that keep people obedient. Then I remembered Elena's email. "We don't do the just hold on thing. I won't be needing it," I said. The look on his face, surprise mixed with irritation, was almost worth the last 2 years. After that meeting, the office atmosphere changed immediately. Word spread fast. People kept stopping by my desk with that careful tone people use around someone who's leaving. "I heard you're moving on," they'd say. Some looked jealous. Some looked terrified. A few looked angry, like I'd betrayed them by escaping. Graham started assigning me pointless tasks like he was trying to punish me. He scheduled meetings that could have been emails, then acted offended when I didn't volunteer to stay late. He suddenly cared about tiny errors that nobody had noticed before. He CC'd senior leadership on messages that didn't require it. He wanted to remind everyone that he was still in charge. Meanwhile, I did something I'd never done. I worked my hours and then I went home. I didn't apologize. I didn't over-explain. When Graham emailed at 9:30 p.m. asking for an update ASAP, I didn't respond until next morning. When he sighed theatrically in a meeting about commitment, I stared at my notes and didn't react. The first time I shut my laptop at exactly 5 and walked out while people were still hunched over their keyboards, my legs felt wobbly. It felt like I was doing something wrong, like I'd be punished, like someone would stop me and say, "Where do you think you're going?" No one did. That's what was so revealing. The fear had been living in me, not in the building. In my last week, HR scheduled an exit interview. A woman named Diane sat across from me with a clipboard and asked, "Why are you leaving?" I looked at her and felt a flicker of temptation to unload everything, to explain the broken promises, the overtime, the pay disparity, the emotional manipulation, the word grateful used like a leash. But I also knew how these things worked. They'd nod. They'd write something down. Graham would keep his job. They'd hire someone new and tell him the same promises. The machine would keep moving. So I told the truth, just not the whole story. I'm leaving for a role that better aligns with my responsibilities and growth goals, I said. Diane's pen paused. She gave me a look like she understood more than she could say. "Okay," she said quietly. "I'm sorry it didn't work out here." On my last day, Graham didn't do a goodbye. No thank you. No acknowledgement. He sent a curt email to the team. "Please ensure all queries are redirected appropriately. Today is her last day." Like I was a broken printer being replaced. It should have hurt. And maybe it did. A little, like a final confirmation that I'd never been a person to him. I'd been output. At 4:55, I packed my desk. A few coworkers came by, with awkward hugs. One whispered, "You're brave," like leaving was a dangerous sport. Another said, "I wish I could do that," and looked down at their shoes. At 5 o'clock, I walked out of the building carrying a small box of desk things. Mug, notepad, a plan I'd somehow kept alive despite everything. The air outside felt different, cleaner. My shoulders dropped like they'd been holding tension for years. I got into my car and just sat there for a moment, hands on the steering wheel, breathing. My phone buzzed. It was an email from Graham. Subject line, transition. For a split second, my body tensed like it used to. Then I saw the time. 5:03. I pictured him at his desk, sending one last demand, one last tether. I didn't open it. Instead, I drove home, put my box on the kitchen counter, and made a real dinner. Not takeout, not leftovers. Something warm and simple. I ate at my table, not standing over the sink. Halfway through, I realized I wasn't bracing for my phone to ring. I wasn't checking the time. I wasn't calculating how much sleep I'd get if I finished one more task. That night, I opened my notes app and added one more line to the reasons list. Not a grievance, a promise. Kept my promise to myself. My first day at the new company, Elena called me into a video meeting and said, "Before we talk about deliverables, I want to ask, how are you settling in? Do you have what you need?" She said it like it mattered. Like I mattered. I didn't know how to answer at first. I had this weird urge to prove I was fine, to minimize. Old habits. I'm adjusting, I admitted. Elena nodded. "Take your time. You don't have to earn basic respect here." After the call, I sat back in my chair and felt my eyes sting. Not because I was sad, because I was relieved in a way my body didn't know how to hold yet. Graham made promises he never kept because it cost him nothing to say them. I kept my promise to myself because it cost me everything not to. And yeah, sometimes I still hear that word, grateful, in my head like an echo from that conference room. But now when it shows up, it doesn't land like guilt. It lands like clarity. I am grateful. Just not to him.